What are the things you wish school had taught you about understanding yourself, life, relationships and health, so that each day you could develop to become the person you know you could be? Unlock your potential and live the life that you want.
Well, luckily for you, you don't need to go back to school, because Mum and daughter Jane and Liv are coming to the rescue. We welcome you to the School Run podcast, where every day is a school day, and we open your world to the things that school didn't teach you. Are you ready to become the best version of you?
You don't want to miss this conversation. Today we are talking about how stress is subjective. Now, before we start, a little introduction. Hi, I'm Liv, I'm 17 years old. I am one half of the School Run podcast, and the other half is sat right next to me.
My name's Jane James, I'm Liv's mum. I'm a lot older. Wiser, I'm not too sure, but I'm definitely the other half of the School Run podcast.
And today, we've got a very interesting episode about stress.
Why did you want to talk about stress, Liv?
Well, we had a lovely lady on who, I'm not sure whether this episode will have come out by the time we're recording this. However, we did about the 5 stages of burnout, which I thought was very interesting.
Just to give you an insight, this episode, the 5 stages of burnout and what to spot, will be coming out in April. So watch out for that. But it was that episode and recording it that gave you the sort of idea to cover stress.
Because I loved what this lady said on the 5 stages of burnout, and it was very informative and very helpful and lots of practical takeaways in that one. However, we talked about a lot about stressful situations. And afterwards, with the knowledge I've learned from the Olive Jar and knowledge just I've learned in life as well, I mean, I'm not that old, but I try and learn something new every day, is that stress is subjective. And the way I'm going to put this is different situations happen to different people and we perceive them all very differently and they affect us in very different ways. So if someone says, I've been in a stressful situation, if I said to you, Mum, I've been in a stressful situation, okay, how would you what to you would that mean?
Well, I know what I do. I go, well, what do you mean a stressful situation?
Okay,
but it's stressful.
Let's think about in a different way.
Okay, so what would a stressful situation to me be? I couldn't. I don't know. I don't resonate with stress anymore. But I've been in a stressful situation. I've had an awful lot of phone calls, an awful lot of people at me today, and I've got a lot of things on my plate that I've not found answers to yet. I'm a problem solver, so I like to help someone and find the solution to a problem. And maybe I'm at a point where I've not been able to fulfill on those in that moment.
So but for me, that would not even enter my head if someone mentioned a stressful situation. A stressful situation to me might mean someone's been in a car accident or something. So when we talk about stress, and we will go on to actually the word stress and what it, how by us saying that or thinking that will affect our behavior. But I think the way we use it so just naturally every day, I think is actually really affecting us and how we show up every day.
I would agree. But if I've just put it into ChatGPT, just as we've been sat here, put in what is stress? And it said to me, stress is a natural physical and psychological response. A natural physical and psychological response to demands, challenges, or threats. It occurs when the body perceives a situation as requiring effort, adaptation, or action. While it is often associated with negative feelings, stress can also be positive in some cases, motivating individuals to perform better or meet deadlines.
And it's so down to the individual. Just as that definition said, it is so individual to different people.
It's going to be because we have different physical responses. You've got that fight or flight response. That's what when we're stressed, the body activates fight or flight, releasing hormones and chemicals that flood our body with adrenaline and cortisol. And there's all sorts of things that can create that in someone, and what someone has stress towards will be different. I would be stressed if I saw a rat or a mouse. I would not be stressed if I saw a spider.
Yeah, now I'm going to go into a little bit of my knowledge of psychology and biology here. Now, if there's any biologists or psychologists listening, this is my knowledge from A level. So this is all I can provide at this point in time. We do this in biology, in biological psychology. And cortisol is a hormone that protects the body against stress. That's what it does. And obviously, adrenaline, as most people know, raises your heart rate, raises your blood pressure, and gets you ready for actually fight, flight, or freeze. And that freeze bit is actually very real, because in a situation, we do either fight or we flight, we run, get away, or some people genuinely freeze and they just can't do anything. And the thing is, though, our body doesn't know the word stress. I'm going to put that out there. Our body doesn't understand what that word means. We've put a label to how our sensations that are going on in our body, and we've labeled it stress. So stress for some people might be, the heart rate is increasing, they're getting, nervous, the blood pressure's increasing, they may be, feeling a bit shaky, they may be feeling angry if they're stressed. All these things are physical responses that we've just put a label to. And I think in some ways, if we use stress too much, it really does affect our behavior, because in sort of a self-fulfilling prophecy way, if I kept telling you, I'm really stressed, I'm really stressed, I'm really stressed, I'm really stressed, and I tell that to myself every single day, I'm going to start acting stressed because I genuinely believe it. If I say, oh, my college work is just so stressful, then when I do college work, all I'm going to be saying to myself is, this is so stressful, this is so...
And you're going to be flooding your body with chemicals and hormones.
With cortisol, with adrenaline.
That is not helpful.
And it's not going to help me in completing the work, it's not going to help me in moving forward, and it's not going to change my attitude towards other things in my life.
Stress. So, what stresses you out and how do you handle it?
I actually hardly, and people can believe this or not believe this, but I hardly use the word stressed in a day. I'm going to be really honest. I don't really say it a lot, because for me, stressed is getting worked up about a situation or something that's either happened or is going to happen in the future. And none of those things are happening right now. Right now, I'm sat on the sofa, I'm in front of a microphone, and I'm talking to my mum on a podcast, and you're listening. In this situation right now, that's all that's happening. Someone could put a label on it. Someone from the outside can look in at us, maybe looking in through the window and thinking, well, they're having a lovely conversation. Someone else might look in the window and think, oh God, they look like they're a bit grumpy at each other. Someone else might look into the conversation and think, oh God, that'd be my worst nightmare, start having a conversation with my mum. It's so subjective to different people, and like you've said, is the same as stress. Now, my thought train just disappears sometimes.
Only because I was saying to you, when are you stressed? How do you manage stress?
When am I stressed? And I relatively try and live in this moment, because the things I could get stressed about things in the past, but guess what? I can't change them. And I could get stressed about things in the future, but first of all, the future isn't guaranteed. Who knows what's going to happen?
It hasn't yet happened yet.
And it hasn't even happened yet. And some people might be thinking, yeah, but what about if, I'm trying to get on a Teams meeting and the technology isn't working and my dog's barking and my baby's crying and everything's going on, and that's in the present moment and that's making me stressed. And to that I would say, okay, first thing, take a breath. Look at the situation in a wider context. Everything in life is temporary. It's like people say, pain is temporary. Pain is temporary. You'll get over it. And they get over it, Anyway, in that moment, you have to look at what can I do now to
accept what is,
yeah.
what's available to move through this. So I'm really sorry to keep bringing up these sayings, techniques, strategies, but it's just logic. It's unintelligent and illogical to do anything different. In that situation, soothe your baby.
Mm-hmm.
Usually babies are crying because they're hungry, they've got wind, they need a nappy change. Their behaviour is saying that something's going on for them.
Mm-hmm.
So soothe the baby. Write an email to say I can't be on the Teams meeting right now, and put the dog outside and walk through life, process life as it's happening rather than reacting to the situation.
And in the best way that you can, because this feeling of stress, in inverted commas, will affect your ability to make good decisions.
Hi everyone, we hope you're enjoying this episode so far. We're just cutting in to say, if you're enjoying our podcast, please click the follow button on whichever platform you're listening on. And please leave us a review. We'd be so grateful for your support and feedback. Podcasts are free to listen to, but if you are loving our school-run chats and debates, please consider buying us a virtual coffee. The link will be in the description of every podcast episode, and it will also be in the bio of our Instagram, which is @theschoolrun_official. And why not give it a follow while you're there, so you can see all the updates and get sneak peeks at upcoming episodes. Thank you so much, and happy listening.
And also, when I'm just looking at ChatGPT, because we put in what is stress, and it's just put all sorts of things up, common causes of it, relationship problems, health concerns, financial issues, work pressures. Each of those things, what can I do about it? Accept this, what can I do about it? And look at the options you've got and take one. We had an episode which we did, which was about, is there ever a wrong or a right decision? There's not, there's just a choice to be made. We came to that conclusion. Effects of stress can be really damaging. They're real. So we want to avoid those at all costs. But how you cope, you said you would breathe, and it says relaxation techniques, deep breath, meditation or yoga. Exercise, go out for, people say, oh, they tell you just to go for a walk, but it actually has a therapeutic effect on taking you down from that place where you are.
And I think all those things are great, but what I want to say, those are things that are good things to incorporate into your day-to-day life. However, if you are in a moment, for example, like our situation before, sometimes it might be difficult for some people to just go out on a walk and just leave it. So that if you're actually in your life in what you would call a stressful situation, the breathing's good because it's going to help you come down from this level where you're unable to make any logical decision about what to do next. Like you said on our example, to sit there and say, even say it out loud to yourself, like, what is actually happening in this moment? Right, what's actually happening is my technology isn't working. That's all that's happening. It's not a disaster. It's not absolutely horrendous.
It's not chaos. It's not
catastrophic. It's not like an earthquake is happening. Your technology, say it as it is. That's how I think that would be the first step to get through a stressful situation. Say it as it is. What is happening right now? And then think, right, this thing is happening. And I'm putting your saying in a different way for people who maybe haven't done the olive jar or, understand it. But then you look at, well, what can I do to maybe change it, the situation? Or what can I do to help myself come out in a less stressed way? Does that make any sense?
Absolutely. And often the stress is happening because of things that you could have avoided prior to that. So time management. Could you have tested the technology beforehand to make sure it was all set up for the time of the meeting that you needed?
And you'll learn that for the future.
Absolutely. So you don't need to just put things in place. Who else can help you within this set of circumstances? And also looking at, am I feeling this level of stress today because last night I didn't have a great night's sleep, or I haven't drunk as much water this week as I normally do, or I've had too much excessive caffeine to just keep going because I did have bad sleep last night. You can normally pinpoint, and I read a book called How to Be Your Own Therapist a couple of years ago. Someone lent it to me, one of my friends, Susie. And I read it, and the one golden nugget I took from it, and I always say to people, whatever event you're going to, whatever book, whatever podcast that you're listening to, just take one thing from it. And if it makes a difference, absolutely, that's good. And it's that almost improvement of 1% every day. But one of the things was check in with yourself in the morning. Where am I today? On a scale of 1 to 10, mentally and physically, where am I today? What was my sleep like last night? What was my water intake like? What was my caffeine? I've had a decent breakfast. Was it protein packed? Like, just have that quick checklist. And if not, then readjust some of those things, because it'll reduce the impact of stress through that day or going forward in that week. So I hope we've given some.
Well, I think we hold it all in, don't we? And people often say, and it's like a comedy thing, I guess, that we hold all this stress, and then when we get home, whoever's at our house or living with us, we kind of take it out on those people. And it's not that person's done anything wrong. It's that we've been holding all this stuff in, and one thing's tipped us over the edge, and then we've just exploded onto one person, which first of all isn't good for you, because 5 minutes later you realise, oh, I've actually said some things there that I didn't mean, because it was actually due to that stress at work that made me do that. And it's not great for the other person as well. So having that time, like you said, in the morning or at night or in the car on the way home, check in and think, some of these things I can't do anything about. Some of these things are in the future. I'm going to get home. I'm going to have a good night routine. I'm going to get to bed, and I'm going to start again tomorrow. And it's all fine. We make life so complicated.
And actually, it's really simple. It's super simple.
My other tip for people is, wherever you are in your life tomorrow, what I want you to do is I want you to count, maybe not, but have it in your consciousness. Now that you've listened to this episode, you're aware of it. Try and calculate, not exactly, but the number of times you say something stressful, or you hear someone else say something is stressful, because you'll realise we use that term so much, and actually if you peel it back step by step, there's usually something you can do to solve it.
Thank you for your wisdom today.
I think that was a bit all over the place.
No, I don't.
And sometimes I actually feel, I'm going to be really real, sometimes I finish these podcasts, I think, that's not as good as it could have been, because sometimes I waffle and I feel like I don't really make that much sense.
I don't believe that. I think there'll be something, just as I say, there's always a little golden nugget, something or a phrase or a word that someone hasn't heard before. And that's the key. We're just listening to podcasts, reading books, absorbing YouTube videos when you're hungry to learn, and certainly learn all the stuff you don't learn at school. And it will just project you forward. And sometimes we get messages where people say, I really needed to hear that today.
And sometimes those will be on episodes where I think, oh my God, I actually don't think I did that well in that episode.
Exactly. So let's take this for what it is. It's a take, your take, my take on the word stress.
I'm not going to let it stress me out that I didn't think I did well in this episode, because it's already been recorded, so.
Absolutely. And if you thought that this gave you something, please share it. That helps us more than you will ever know.
And we didn't talk about the videos. We need to talk about the videos. If you want daily pieces of wisdom, go and follow our Instagram, __official, or follow me, Olivia Maudsley, Maudsley, on LinkedIn, because every day I do a 1 minute, 2 minute video on a piece of knowledge I've learned, and I teach you about it.
I love that. She's learning, but she's sharing, and by sharing, she's learning and ingraining that knowledge deeper and hopefully helping people. But you might just share our Instagram on your stories, or tell someone to follow us, and then they can get a little snippet of what a podcast set of wisdom is all about. Thank you so much for listening to another episode of the School Run podcast. We absolutely love doing the podcast.
Podcasts are free to listen to, but if you'd like to buy us a virtual coffee, we'd be really, really grateful. You just need to go to www.buymeacoffee.com/theschoolrun. That's buymeacoffee.com/theschoolrun. You can also follow us on Instagram at theschoolrun_official or TikTok with the same name at theschoolrun_official. And we always really appreciate your reviews and feedback. On the platform that you're listening to, you can review our podcast and give us a star rating. We'd love to have your comments and receive your feedback. Thank you so much for being a massive support of our journey. This episode has been edited and produced by Mike Roberts from Making Digital Real. We are so lucky and privileged to work with Mike and highly recommend him if you're thinking of starting a podcast.